Hello everyone, I'm JG. Welcome back to Music Forever, where today I'm going to be reviewing the new album from Brockhampton, Saturation. Now when it comes to me concerning my background with this group, there really isn't much of anything. Honestly, I just heard this album getting a lot of praise on the internet over the last few days, so I decided to check it out. Of course, I heard it was more of an alternative hip-hop type of album, and that's really my favorite sort of subgenre of hip-hop, so I figured I may like it. And I actually ended up really liking it, so much so that I felt compelled to make this review, even though, of course, I don't have any backstory much with this group at all. I didn't really know much about them. I did do some research, of course, after listening to this album multiple times, finding out a bit about this group, and what I found actually really interested me. You see, the group isn't just a collection of rappers or singers, rather it's kind of like a large creative group. I believe has about 12 members in it, but they don't all do rapping or singing or even producing. Some of them do other stuff involving the group with creative stuff like making music videos or just album covers, stuff like that. Just anything that really has to do with the creative aspects of this group, not just the actual music itself. And I found that really interesting. The group lives together in a house in Los Angeles, I believe, and they do everything from there. I saw multiple videos on YouTube about it, and it just looked really cool because, honestly, getting to see the output of a group that's working together in this format, being forced to live together, is kind of like this big, just hotspot of creativity, and getting to see it be made into an album. I think that's a rather interesting concept. That's not to say the opposite of that isn't interesting either, having a one-person like band or project, but this is quite the opposite. You could see all these different artists that are very diverse in their backgrounds. Some of them come from different places across the country. I heard some of them were from outside the country, different races, and just everything really. They have different perspectives on lots of things. So, of course, this just diversity in the group, I think, is one of the group's greatest strengths. And when it all comes together here on this project, it turns into one of the best hip-hop albums I've heard this year. As I mentioned before, this project, all the members of the group do different things. Some of them rap, some of them sing, some of them are producing here for the music. And you might think that with a variety of members and them doing a lot of different things that the project may sound disjointed if it's attempting to go for a lot of these things, but that's not true at all. Listening to this project, it feels very consistent all the way through. Despite the fact that you have singers and rappers and different producers, everything comes together very nicely. You could tell that these guys, despite having met on the internet through in some internet forum, they became friends there and started this group. Despite that, they managed to work together in a way that makes this product seem like they've known each other for their entire lives, and just creatively, they're all on the same frequency, and it shows through the product. It's not just the fact that there are different types of musicians within this group, however. Even amongst the rappers and the singers and the producers and all that stuff, there's a lot of diversity. Just listen to some of the rapping here on this project. Depending on who's rapping here, I don't know most of the members of this group's actual names, or I don't have them memorized at this point at least. So excuse me, I can't use any actual names here because I'm not familiar with them, but you could clearly tell when one person's rapping when someone else is. It's not one of those groups where all the members kind of blend together. You can clearly tell the difference between the different MCs in this group, and that's one of the strengths here. They bring a lot of interesting things to the table, and that's just talking about the rappers here. That's not accounting for the vocals, or the sung vocals, that is, and the production. Now, throughout the album, concerning the actual singing itself, there's many instances of vocal effects being used, auto-tune, things of that sort, and while I'm typically not a fan of those manipulations, I would say that on this project I actually don't mind them. I think it's done well. Typically why I don't like manipulations and things like that is because it's often used to mask the lack of the ability to sing, or it's just used in such an excess that it becomes annoying. But here on this project, it's none of those things really. It's clearly being used for effect. It's not really being used to hide the lack of singing ability, and it's not used to the point where it's annoying or anything like that. It sounds good when it's used, and it doesn't become overbearing. Another thing I really like about this group is the lyrical topics that they cover here on this album, as well as just the overall mood that they bring through these lyrics and through the production and just the vocals, all that. While most hip-hop artists, I feel like, are trying to be, super masculine in what they do, I don't think I'm really off base there with saying that. I do know that this group isn't the only one that dives a bit more into, their feelings and things like that, but of course, most MCs that do that tend to not be really popular. And the same kind of goes for this group. They're not super popular, they're kind of up and coming, but I do hope they manage to grow larger. But back to talking about the lyrics, as I said before, they talk a bit more about their feelings here on this project than most rappers would, and that's something I do enjoy on this project. Earlier on in the track listing, I feel like a lot more of the tracks are angrier or just not as vulnerable, I guess you could say, but as the album progresses towards the end, I think there's a lot more melancholy tracks, but I don't mind that. I think that when they're trying to do angry and aggressive, it works well. Just take the opening track on the project, Heat, which there's one point where they're actually screaming in the track, which is just really aggressive and it really catches your attention. But then again, you have other tracks later on in the track listing that are a lot more sad and melancholy, and it works so well in my opinion. Take the track Milk, for example, which I think is probably the best song here. The concept of the song, I think, is really interesting, though on paper, I don't think it would exactly seem that way. It's just kind of the singer just talking about how they want friends and stuff like that. It's just a really basic concept, how they're just not good with friendships and things like that. On paper, it doesn't seem like all that spectacular of an idea, and it seems like something that could falter and just kind of fall on its face rather easily, but here it managed to be pulled off really well. I like the vocals here. They have a very sad tone to them, which works well with the track. It just feels kind of depressing, and just kind of like this person just is really in need of a friend or something like that. They pull it off very well. The production throughout this project matches whatever mood that they're going for with the track. As I said before, they're angrier tracks, and the production matches it there. And then those sadder tracks have, sadder beats to go along with them. I do like the inclusion of some organic instruments in there, such as guitars. I know when I was watching some videos about the group, just, in their house studio place, there was someone playing the guitar in those videos, and you can't hear it through on this project on certain tracks. I believe Milk, the track I mentioned earlier, was one of those tracks where I could hear the guitar. Just overall, it works very well. The beats match up perfectly with the vocals and their delivery, what they're talking about. Now, there are 3 skits that are spread across the track listing here, and typically I'm not a big fan of skits in music because they tend to take away from the actual music itself, but here none of these skits go on long enough to kind of get in the way of the actual music itself. It's over and done with before you could really even start thinking about it all that much, and I do like the replacement here on the album. I think it adds a bit and kind of goes along with the do-it-yourself attitude that this band has. Concerning the track listing here as a whole, you get 17 tracks here, 3 of which are skits, as I mentioned before. So, this is still not a short album in terms of the amount of tracks you're getting. The album is only around 50 minutes long, so it's not super long in that regard. But all these tracks, none of them are super long or anything, and I think it works well because, none of these tracks overstay their welcome. They manage to come in, they hit hard, and then they're done, which, is typically how I like my tracks done. There are some odder length tracks here. Take the track Tupac, for example, which is about a minute long or so, and it just starts off with rapping before going into this sung part, which has vocal effects as a part of it. And overall, it's a very interesting track. Despite its short length, it doesn't feel like it's just there to consume time or anything like that on the album. I feel like, despite its short length, it has a very important purpose here on this project, and it's meant to be taken very seriously. Now, of course, there's no guest features here on the album. I don't see why there would ever really need to be guest features on a project like this, because, as I said before, all the members of this group, there's a lot of them, and they're all really talented as it is. They bring a lot of different things to the table. So, having a guest feature just doesn't seem like something that needs to happen here. There's enough rappers and singers and producers to really make a great project. So overall, I think this group's greatest strength, and as a result, this album's greatest strength, is just the diversity within the group. As I said before, they're able to do so much here on this project that a normal hip-hop group with just hip-hop artists in it, or just, any other group wouldn't be able to pull off, just because, you have the rappers and the singers, the producers, and all the other guys that do other stuff. It works very well, and I'm excited to see what this group is going to do going forward, because I feel like there's still a lot of creative stuff for them left to do that wasn't accomplished here on this album. I know this group has a mixtape that was released before this also. I actually haven't listened to that yet, as I said before. I just got into this group not more than a few days ago, honestly, and I'm already in love with this project. And I'm also interested to see how this band is going to do with their whole, do-it-yourself aesthetic that they've got going on right now. Just as they grow in popularity, I'm excited to see where that takes them. This group could possibly, cause some changes, not only in just hip-hop music, but possibly music in general. I'm really excited to see what they do. Also, the group describes themselves as a boy band, which is also somewhat interesting, because, when you think boy band, you tend to think, just pop group of guys that are kind of, manufactured. But this group is kind of anything but that, really. They're, they all genuinely like what they're doing. They're trying to make, serious music here. But I think it's very interesting that they take the boy band label and wear it so proudly, I guess you could say. They're trying to reinvent the term, which I think is rather cool. I like what this group is doing as a whole. So if you can't already tell, I highly recommend this album if you're a hip-hop fan, an alternative hip-hop fan, an experimental hip-hop fan, just a fan of good music in general. This album is going to definitely be on my top 10 list at the end of the year. And, it's a great album. Just check it out, guys, seriously. Can't recommend it enough. So, yeah, that's my review pretty much. If you enjoyed it, I'd greatly appreciate it if you'd leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. We have more album reviews on the way, track reviews, top 10 lists, all kinds of cool stuff, so you don't want to miss out on that. And comment down below your own thoughts on this album, because I greatly would appreciate seeing those. Thanks again, and stay golden.